Good evening everyone and welcome to League of Europe. We are here for Season 4 Division 1 action. It's round 12 of the Championship as we take in the Italian Grand Prix from the Temple of Speed, that is the Autodromo Nacional di Monza. My name is James Hay, going to be taking you through the stream as your lead commentator here tonight, and joining me in the commentary box on a cold, wet Saturday night here in the United Kingdom, it is Mr. Daniel Field. Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing great, and I can confirm it is very cold and very wet outside. It has been raining quite a lot today. Hopefully we're not going to see too much rain in Italy, because really the most defining feature of this circuit is how fast it is and how you can take most of it flat out, only broken up by a couple of chicanes. So hopefully that's not going to be robbed of us by any rain like it has been in the real world. But I'll tell you what, if last week's race is anything to go off, this should be a brilliant one.
It should be a brilliant one, and Montana, of course, who else took the win last time out? It was Montana who took the win last time out, of course, in Belgium, where, of course, the 24 Hours of Spa is being held this weekend. That is live on YouTube as well, if you want to catch up with that. But it's so close at the top end of the championship. You can really ignore the rest, I think, now. We have got Montana and Alphatrix 216 to 214 respectively, and that is a 2-point difference, which I said at the end of the stream last time went in favour of Alphatrix. Correct myself, it's in favour of Montana, who retakes the championship lead. Alphatrix in second after a third place finish last time out in Belgium. Verstappen in third, still on 63 points, with D. Daniel in fourth on 62. Neo in fifth on 59, with Campbell in sixth on 57. Killer Blue in seventh on 54, with Rocco in eighth on 53. Suku in ninth on 51, and Spine in 10th on 44. Cohen in 11th on 42. Toxic in 12th on 39, with Larkin in 13th on 34. Bollen in 14th on 30, just Asas in 15th on 27. Short, who is in his fourth race now in League of Europe Division 1, he's in 16th on 24 points. Droppier in 17th on 21, with Chapelelli in 18th on 19. Connor, after his debut, picking up a second place finish in Belgium. Hopefully he's back here tonight. He's in 19th on 18 points. Josh in 20th on 15 points, with Cookie Games and Daka both on 9 and 8 points respectively. And looking at the championship, Montana and Alphatrix, of course, really just steamrolling ahead of the field, to be honest. 2 points separating them coming into tonight. Have to focus my attention to the one Suku, who's really had a good run of form recently. He's down in 9th position, but he's only 12 points off 3rd position in the championship. Is he going to be on for another podium, possibly?
Well, he certainly had some really great performances, and of course, well, it looks like Killer Blue has actually been doing a little bit of 1.5 Division 1, Division 1.5 standings, and of course he is inside a win of the championship lead of D. Daniel. Of course, it is just the entire Division 1, excluding Alphatrix and Montana, but they've had 10 different winners in 11 races, and then 18 different podium sitters and 7 drivers within championship, just a win for the championship lead. So realistically, if Montana and Alphatrix just had their own Division 0 to themselves, Division 1 could be incredible.
It could be incredible, and I think in terms of the championship currently, Montana has got it over points, but if it was to go to count back towards the end of the season, Alphatrix will get it because he's got 6 wins currently compared to Montana's 5 wins. There we go. I was trying to think quick maths there with a pounding headache that I've got here tonight. I'm still going to be commentating you through the action. We'll run on to the Constructors' standings as we go into qualifying. But here we are at the Autodromo Nacional di Monza. It is now time to get into qualifying, and of course you can take this track 75% of which flat out. So that is really going to test the limit. I've got to be honest, right from the get-go, we're going to see a 1:17 for pole position.
A 1:17 is quite ambitious, but you know what, maybe we could have that tonight. Of course, everyone has just gotten so much faster as the game has progressed, so I wouldn't expect them to be too far away, and especially inside the 17, so I definitely think it is a possibility. But one thing it is worth mentioning, there's not a single reserve in here tonight. All of the drivers have attended, so it's really great to see that whilst in other leagues attendance seems to be kind of just dying out a little bit, other people, they've got their own lives ever since lockdown regulations have been lifted. But it's really great to see that these guys are still remaining committed to the league and are going to do it every single week for the rest of the season.
Yeah, League of Europe, I think, is really showcasing itself as the home of Saturday night racing, I think, within league racing. And it just comes to show here, a full grid, all full-time drivers as well. This is what we like to see. And Montana, I'm betting on him being the first out on track. Nobody leaving the pit lane just yet. I see Ciappellini's mechanics getting ready, though, in the meantime. As we see, actually, a Williams coming out the pit lane first. And I wonder if that's Killer Blue, as per last week. Looks like there is a Williams leaving track. In fact, I think it's Alphatrix who leaves the pit lane race first this week, which is the first time I think he's been on pole position, essentially, coming out the pits.
And I don't even think Montana's leaving the pit lane yet. This is quite astounding from him. He's not even in second position. The Mercedes of Ciappellini just coming out of the pit lane. What is going on with Montana? He's really dropped the ball all week, unfortunately, and only just came out of the pit lane now. Third position. Be the end of his championship hunt.
Standards are really dropping, I think, for Montana, of course, coming out the pit lane. He's in third there, coming out the pit lane. But we shall focus then on Alphatrix, the first man out on track. He is going to try and set the timing screens alight. He's on an outlap currently, but on the run down towards the scoring. As I say, 75% of this lap can be taken flat out. And I think Alphatrix has got the advantage. He doesn't want to have too much traffic in front of him. I think he's got the advantage currently of clear air, because it looks like most of the guys are filtering out the pits.
Yeah, some people just coming out the pit lane now, they're going to be going around for their outlaps. Shouldn't run into too much traffic. He might have some issues with some of the drivers coming out the pits right now, like a racing point and a half, but he is going to begin this lap. And hopefully they'll back out and get out of the way and won't cause him too many issues.
And now Alphatrix runs down in excess of 210 mile an hour down and towards the Rettifilo chicane at turns 1 and 2. Brakes just off the 100 metre board, turns in, and that is how you take turns 1 and 2 out on track. Very nicely indeed. As now Alphatrix comes through the Curva Grande, coming through turn 3, and then up towards the Rettifilo chicane at turns 4 and 5. And we see the first sector split. And 25.8 already is a really good first sector split as he now flies through the Rettifilo chicane and then towards the first Lesmo and the second Lesmo, not to be confused with something else like you're getting into your mind. Alphatrix coming through the first Lesmo and then in towards the second Lesmo, as now he comes down through the Curva del Seraglio, which is not counted as a corner on the track map, as now we run down in towards the Scari, towards the bottom of the boot-shaped track. 51.8 coming through the middle sector for Alphatrix, looking lovely through a Scari, as now he flies. There's a racing point of M Short just ahead of him, gets out the way, and Alphatrix now just picks up that little bit of tow. Could give him an extra mile an hour or two as he runs down in towards Parabolica, scene of Alex Peroni and Charles Leclerc's crash respectively in 2019 and 20, but Alphatrix now comes to the line, running adjacent to the pit wall. And it's a 118 flat to begin off with, and my prediction of a 117 nearly coming true right at the start of qualifying.
Well, brilliant lap from him there. Can Ciappellini trump him? He's now going to cross the line. What can he do with that Mercedes car? 7/10 off. But then there's, of course, Alphatrix's main championship rival, NSX Montana, coming through Parabolica corner right now. Going to rev the car, spamming the downshifts, and now riding up through the gears to come up towards the line under the Armco, and now to cross the line. It's at 17.9, and he's a quicker.
He is quicker by 0.04 of a second, and Montana has already proven a prediction right. And this is one very exclusive moment on the stream. I never get a prediction right at the start of qualifying. So Montana has gone quickest. Alphatrix second. The two AlphaTauris currently third and fourth. Verstappen and Toxic coming in there with an 18.3 and an 18.4 respectively. Just right on board, M Short coming through the middle sector, now through the final sector through Ascari. And he, in his fourth race here in Division 1, since being promoted up from Division 2, currently leading the championship as well in TTML Division 1. The pressure is really on, as I'm sure his family will be watching as always. M Short now around the final corner. Is he going to pull up there with Montana and Alphatrix? He is looking quite quick across the line. He goes fourth, just on behind Verstappen, 118.3. It almost looked like he lost a little bit of momentum, I think, at the final corner. It almost looked like he feathered off slightly.
Yeah, he probably could have got ahead of Verstappen there, but still really nice from him to split the AlphaTauri cars, making sure that they can't be together and work together throughout the race. But once again, they're all so close in terms of their time. You know, Bolin and Toxic very close together, 400ths respectively, the same for the top two and third and fourth. So they're all seemingly keeping the same kind of parallels to each other, which is really quite funny to see actually. But I'm trying to find someone else who is on a lap. I don't think anyone's really pushing.
Daka was on. Yeah, Daka was on a lap. He invalidated coming through the second Lesmo, the first Lesmo, unfortunately, on the exit curb, and unfortunately he's invalidated through there. It was looking quite quick as a first sector, but he'd be hoping to try and really get up there within the mid-pack. I think his aim would be tonight. So Dako's invalidated. He'll be coming back into the pits, one would imagine. Not many, though, out on track. I'm just trying to see who might be next to come across the line. I think it's Matthias, who has just gone onto a lap.
Yeah, Matthias has just begun that. So he's going to come down into the first corner. You want to spam the gears down. He could have gone into first gear for that little bit of extra rotation, but he's actually going to avoid that and all bit of oversteer through the exit and now up towards the Turbo Grande, rising up through the gears, using up all of the power that is in that tank, flat out through this section of the track and now into one of the many chicanes around here. It's 25.9 through the first sector. Really nice from him. A good run through there, but he's just gone a little bit too fast and he's actually clipped the gravel. Going to make him lose a little bit of time, but I think he's going to keep pushing on this run as more slides are coming out of Lesmo 1 and now into Lesmo 2. He's gone off a little bit there. I think he was right on the edge of getting an invalidation, so it was really nice from him to do. But it's looking like a really nice run here, James. It's now up towards the second sector split, 52.4. Isn't that bad? He's invalidated. And he's just saved it.
Had a feeling he might do that actually running down to Ascari. There was something in the back of my mind that was thinking he's going to invalidate coming into Ascari. I didn't want to say it on the stream, but unfortunately for Matthias, I think me riding on board with him is a curse in its own right, I think, out on track. Just trying to see actually who'll be next to come across the line. I think it might be D. Daniel, if I'm not mistaken, out on track. 25.9 through the first sector. He's slightly slower than Matthias when he came through his first sector split. And now D. Daniel runs through the first Lesbo and now through the second Lesbo. And D. Daniel well up there within the standings. I think he's in the top 5 currently within the championship. So D. Daniel will be hoping to try and replicate that form from earlier on in the season, especially when we went to Zandvoort, where he produced such a nice performance. 52.1 from D. Daniel through the middle sector and flies through Ascari. That is even cleaner than Alphatrix, if I've got to argue. And D. Daniel now, on the run up towards Parabolica, is going to try and improve. Not many drivers getting a lap in just yet. I think we've got just ASAS, Kooky Games and the likes also on laps as well. But D. Daniel round the final corner. I think Spine has just started the lap as well, if I'm not mistaken. But D. Daniel now towards the line. Let's see what he's going to set. Goes 6th, 118.4. Nice lap there by D. Daniel. Campbell coming across the line goes 3rd, 118.2. We have also got Suku on a lap as well, just trying to find him as he now comes through Parabolica. 52 flat through the middle sector, and Suku going to be well up there. He in qualifying goes 3rd with a 118.1. And Montana, Alphatrix, Suku really following the pattern that we've seen of the last 2 weeks, I think, so far in qualifying.
Yeah, they just continue through the session. It is the times are going to get slightly quicker, of course, due to the track rubbering. You can see just Datas across the line. He goes 10th position. We've got Spine on a lap as well. He's coming up towards the last couple of corners here into Parabolica. He's been really impressive lately, has Spine been, and of course he's not got too much time to practice. I've spoken to him about it, so he's going to do a nice lap here, I believe. He's now up towards the line, could maybe get within the reach of his teammate. Goes 6th place. It's not a bad time from him, 3rd row of the grid, but I think he'd want to be a little bit higher off on that one.
Montana is even through the middle sector, 51.810 through the middle sector. Is he going to try and improve now to run adjacent to the pit wall, trying to take as little ground as possible to the line? He does improve by 800ths of a second. Now, Alphatrix, 300ths up within the first sector. He's got a McLaren behind him, which I think is Matthias on an outlap behind him. But Alphatrix now running down towards the end of the middle sector. He is not on a lap time. I think he's backed out of this one. He could go back into the pit lane and could get another run. But, just having a look through anybody else on the lap, M. Short through the first sector split, not sure what he's doing in terms of times. Toxic, however, through the final corner is 600ths up. Let's see what he can do. Feeling quite confident coming in tonight. I spoke to Toxic earlier on, and Toxic goes 4th. ahead of Campbell. Nice lap time there, and I think just Asas might have improved up as well, up to 12th.
That was really nice from top to go up the order there, and just some more drivers going up through the final couple. I believe that they are on in-lap, so I think we're going to have some drivers start to come into the pits, finishing up on their runs, and then they're going to go again. Just thinking about Toxic in 4th position, really precarious situation for him. He had a really good start to the season. He's kind of dropped off as of late, but hopefully he can find that momentum again and get back further up through the order, which he's doing pretty well tonight.
Oh, good improvement there by Rocco. 8.5 tenths. I was just going to come on board because Toxic and Rocco are very close, in fact, within the league racing community. Rocco going 7th behind Toxic. 118.1 currently for Toxic, 118.2 for Rocco. So he's only got a tenth to find basically on his good rival and very good friend as well within the league racing community. Just trying to see anybody else on the lap. Killer Blue around the final corner. He's had very consistent qualifying as of late. Belgium, of course, I think he started in the top 5, and now Killer Blue towards the line. It's not going to be up there, unfortunately, to 118.9. Matthias is invalidated again as we ride on board with him, and Dakar 27.4 through the middle sector. I can't see anybody else on a lap time though.
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through the field. I think Bolin is on a push lap at the moment in 11th position. He's just invalidated right as I go on to him out of Lesmo 1. So brilliant work there. Thank you, Bolin. Yeah, I don't think anyone else is on a lap though. Oh, we got Killer Blue actually. He's just started up a run. Never mind, he's not that quick through the first sector. I'm not mistaken.
Oh, Dakar invalidating as well, coming through the middle sector. But currently, as the line lies, with 2/3 of qualifying pretty much gone, it is Montana who's on top by a tenth of a second. From Alphatrix in second, Suku in third. Quite a close qualifying session, but I've got to be honest, I was expecting the guys to be a little bit closer than what they actually are. It's separated by 1.2 seconds over the space of qualifying. Come on, guys, we've got to withhold the standards, I think, within Division 1. I think we've got to have everyone within a second, surely.
Yeah, they normally do that most weeks, so I definitely think we should see everyone within a second. Of course, there are some outliers every week who just can't put a piece of that together, but 119.1 should be better from Cohen. I definitely think he is a sort of midfield driver. He can definitely be in that top 10 on his day, so he's really just got to nail this lap at the moment. It's now just starting up on his run. He might have made a massive error, which put him way down on his time, but hopefully he can improve on that run.
Oh, I have just seen something very interesting. Spag and Chips and Suku both reporting full wet race here in Italy. So this is why everyone, as you can see, is on a set of soft compound of tyres. Campbell is 5 tenths down. Suku, I think, has just started up a lap. He's 2 tenths up, coming through the first sector. I tell you what, Suku, if he can put the rest of the lap together, he's already theoretically within a shout of getting Montana. This could be a good lap we're on board with now. Montana, I do believe, is also on an out lap. I think he's just about to start lap now. But Suku through the middle sector, he's a tenth down. He's just lost a little bit of time. 51.8 coming through Ascari. He's really got to find the time now. Has the pole. Third last time out, of course, or 2 races ago, I should say. Fourth last time out as well. I think Verstappen has just gone 4th. D. Daniel's gone 3rd. The times are flying in thick and fast. But now Suku round the final corner. We'll see him power to the line. Can the pole put it on pole? Provisionally with 4.5 minutes to go. Suku across the line. No, he goes second, just ahead of Alphatrix, who was invalid, a tenth and a half up. So Alphatrix across the line, it would have been a 118.6. He backed off through the final sector. Montana is 900th down. Not sure who else is on the lap. I think Toxic might have improved as well to 118.1. And now everyone is basically within a second of each other. The 18 drivers that have currently set times, Montana has invalidated as well. Just trying to see, is that Neil on a lap possibly as well? He's just through turn 1, and Dakar on an out lap. I can't really see anybody else that's on a lap.
No, at the moment it seems like everyone's really just going to try and start their final runs. Might be just a little bit slow through here. They could have made a mistake somewhere on the lap, and they just decided, you know what, I'm not going to push this run, I'm going to go for another lap. But yeah, we're seeing some guys coming to the pit lane. If they come out instantly, I think they can probably get out in time. But we are getting to the point where it's going to be point of no return for some of these drivers. So we do have some drivers coming towards the end of their laps. If I'm not mistaken, there's a McLaren somewhere further up on a lap. That's Cohen who's unfortunately not pushing, but I think Matthias is probably a safe bet, even though there is cars ahead of him. He is on a lap at the moment, and hopefully he can just piece his one together and actually finish the run.
Got a bit of a tow, 51.8 coming through the middle sector, I should say, for Matthias. And he's got a Red Bull ahead of him. He hasn't invalidated. Oh, as soon as I say that, he invalidates. Coming out of Ascari. If that's not a commentator's curse and a half, then I don't know what is. I think that was just ASAS, if I'm not mistaken, giving him a bit of a tow. And unfortunately for Matthias, he just got quite squirrely on the exit of Ascari. And that is him now retrieving back into the pit lane. Luckily for him, he's still got enough time to get out on track. It's about a 45-50 second turnaround in terms of putting the new set of tyres on and getting back out into the pit lane. We've got limited drivers though out on track, and with 2.5 minutes to go, it's Montana on top, Suku second, Alphatrix in third, myself and Mr. Daniel Field taking you through the action, of course, here in Division 1. And for those big people that know their facts, this is my 49th commentary within Division 1. I'm one off the 50 mark, which of course will be next week in Singapore. So 49 and up currently, and unbeaten, I should say, as well.
Very nice to hear that. I actually don't know how many races I've done. When I started around about round number 5 for this season, I probably missed one in Division 4. I'm not going to lie about that. So I think I've done about maybe 9 commentaries in League of Europe. But I already feel at home with this community. They're all brilliant people. So if you are watching and you're not already involved, just get us a follow on Twitter. Why not?
Yeah, at League of Europe is, of course, the official league Twitter account. Of course, if you want to follow myself and Dan on Twitter, it is at B52Head, at Bravo52Head, and it's at V8Field, I do believe, your Twitter on that social media platform. But Bollen is on a lap, and the Dutchman will be hoping to try and gain a little bit of retribution, I think. He's had people qualifying runs so far. He's 600s up coming through the first sector, though, down in towards the down into the Della Roggia chicane, I should say, through 4 and 5, and then up towards the Les Mills. We're at the top of the boots, essentially. Think of this track shape as a boot, essentially, and Bollen now comes through the middle sector, looking really nice through there, through the second Les Mill. He's got a car ahead of him out on track. I think that's Kooky Games, if I'm not mistaken, on an outlap. It's one of the Red Bulls anyways. Bollen now towards the end of the middle sector. Oh, he's 2.5 tenths up. He's 3 tenths up, in fact, and he could be on for a good qualifying lap if he can get Ascari right, which he has. Kooky Games there to the left-hand side, and now Bollen running up towards the final couple of corners out on track. Rocco, his teammate, is also on a lap, I do believe, somewhere out there. I think he's just started one, in fact. And Bollen now through the final corner, really going to hammer it to the line now, out nearly catching out wide, coming onto the AstroTurf for Bollen across the line. He goes 7th, much more improvement there from Bollen. Lost a little bit of time in the final sector, but 118.1 sees him into 7th.
Yeah, good time from him. We've got some more drivers coming up to the line. I'm just trying to find who is actually at the line, but got some more drivers just filing through the Renault car towards the end of the run. You know what, I think you should just take over because I don't really know where everyone is. Campbell
goes 4th with a 118 flat. He nearly backed off that lap coming through Parabolica. Great lap from him. We've got Alphatrix 500s up in the first sector. We've got Montana a 10th down through the middle sector. Let's ride on board then with Montana. Suku is 700s down through the first sector, but Montana is a 10th and a half down. I think he might have backed off this one, or has he? No, he hasn't. He's now around the final corner. Is he going to try and eke out a little bit more improvement? The main man will be to watch Alphatrix. He's coming down towards Parabolica now. Montana across the line doesn't improve. Alphatrix is a 10th up. Alphatrix is a 10th up, and he's currently theoretically on pole position. There's going to be so many improvements to the left-hand side. Here comes Alphatrix now to the line. Can he defeat Montana across the line? No, he can't. He loses the time in the final sector. He had a buffer of about 500ths of a second, and that has gone down the drain. Montana possibly on pole position. Suku is not on a lap. Toxic, however, is on a lap, but he's coming round the line now and goes 5th. Just in behind Verstappen, very close in terms of qualifying. Bollen, Neil is around the final corner, 200s up. We've got a Ferrari around the final corner as well, which is Suku, but he is not improving. Neil now to the line. He will improve up in position, I think. No, he improves his time. He doesn't improve his position. Lark into the line, invalidated, and just ASAS is not on a lap. That, however, is qualifying over, and in fact, I think just ASAS has lost a little bit of front wing, because I'm sure I saw a bit of left side end plate damage fly off that car as we rode on board there. But Montana on top, Alphatrix in second, Suku in third, and it's same old in qualifying.
Well, it seems like every week they're going to lock up the front row, but another impressive performance by Suku. He could have split the two championship leaders if Alphatrix didn't have that lap at the end, but really did just lose it all in the final sector, and it went the way of Montana. 35 thousandths of a second separating the two of them. Wow.
Less than 2/10 separating the top 7 as well. Montana out on top from Alphatrix in second. Suku third with Verstappen in fourth. Toxic in fifth. Very good showing, I've got to say, from the AlphaTauris there. Campbell in sixth with M Short in seventh. The Daniel 8th, Spine in ninth, and Bolin rounding off the top 10 with Chapelelli in 11th. Rocco in 12th. Neo in 13th. Cohen 14th. Matthias on the same time as Cohen, his teammate, 14th and 15th. Kuki Game 16th. Larkin 17th. Less than 0.5 of a second separating the top 17. That is how close qualifying is. Jasesas, Killer Blue and Dakar all getting laps in and separated by about a second. Those that set. Dakar starting right from the back. But we have got completely changeable conditions here, it seems, in Italy. It looks as if, according to this, it's going to be a full wet race. I'm assuming we're going to be starting on the set of intermediates rather than the full wet. And in fact, I see dry compound of tyres out in the pit lane there in Chapelelli's pit box.
I'm trying to get a closer look. I think that the grooves are a bit hard to see. But I think that is a green wall tyre.
Is it a green wall tyre? I can see yellow around the rim of that tyre, if I've got to be honest. So that would indicate medium compound of tyres, I think. But not mistaken.
Let me just get really close.
The rain doesn't
I actually can't tell.
The rain doesn't look heavy enough for it to have an impact on the surface, I think. It looks a bit damp, but we'll be proving right in about 30 seconds' time. But just to put into perspective, how difficult is it around here in the wet?
Well, you really just have to change your entire dynamic of driving. You have to go from being really aggressive, you can go 75% of the lap, flat out, to now being a little bit more conservative, braking a bit earlier and getting onto the power a little bit less. And we could have actually seen some of those guys. They look like they're on softs,
dry tyres. They are on dry tyres for the start of the race, and this is going to bring a hell of a lot of dynamism, I think, into this race. Soft compound of tyres. The top 10 will start, of course, on that set of soft compound of tyres. What is interesting, actually, normally what we see with dry, Montana just completely outbreaks himself into turn 1, and in fact Alphatrix follows him off as well. This is how difficult these conditions are on the formation lap, but not even onto the first lap of the race. But set of soft compound of tyres, everyone further down the field is on a set of soft compound of tyres as well. That indicates to me at some point within the first 10 laps, I think, we're going to see the conditions either deteriorate, or we're going to see them improve enough for those guys to run on a set of soft compound of tyres pretty much towards I would say around lap 8, lap 9. But I've got to be honest, I think we're going to be seeing intermediates sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we might see some of these guys try and pit on lap number 1, because if they're saying that it is a full wet race, then we're going to see it for the entirety of the Grand Prix. So that means surely that it's not worth staying out on the dry tyres when the intermediates are only going to get better and better throughout the race. They might maybe try and stretch them to 2 or 3 laps, but I don't think it's going to be too long until we see wet running.
Yeah, Montana's saying earlier on in the comment section as well, I think if we increase the gap to P3 in the standings by 5 points, either Alpha or me will win the title. So it could be mathematically possible that the front two, as you see them, are the only 2 drivers within mathematical contention. We'll have to get that fact checked for you before next week. Matthias, by the way, saying his 3rd lap would have been up there, but he got dirty air coming through Ascari, which I think was the Red Bull that we rode on board with. Quickly, though, as they come around the final corner at Parabolica, who's your top 3?
It's got to be Montana and Alphatrix, and then we'll go with Chapelelli from 11th. Why not?
Why not? Chapelelli from 11th on the grid. I don't think he tends to do well. Looking at that predicted pit stop strategy, a 1-stop to a set of mediums lap 10 to 12, but we normally see these guys pit in later on. I think Jasesas has spun, actually, coming out the final corner, going quite slow. We're waiting on Killer Blue as well to join up on the grid. But in true James Allen fashion, or in true James Head fashion, are you ready for this race? Are you ready? Are you hanging on to the edge of your seat? And I'm not going to follow up with that a music joke at all. But here we go. here in Italy for round 12 of the League of Europe Division 1 Championship. Who knows what is going to happen as the 5 red lights come on here in Italy for round 12. And it's lights out and away we go. Look at all of them crawl off the start, and Montana's got a very good start indeed. Alphatrix gets the traction down. A little bit of weaving there further down the field. That looks like it was Rocco defending off Neo, if I'm not mistaken, down in towards turn 1. Everyone got to be careful. Suka was round the outside on Alphatrix and gets the move done, does he? Coming through the retrofilial chicane. Everyone gingerly taking through the chicane. It looks like everyone has got through there safely. We're on but with Daka further down, but Montana has got a tremendous run. There's been a collision further down the field. McLaren caught up in that, it's Matthias, Neo caught up in that, and just Ace I think has been caught up in that as well. But Montana's got a second lead already. Alphatrix is in second, Suku in third, Toxic fourth, Verstappen in fifth. Look at how everyone struggles. Coming through the Della Rogers again, Verstappen fights the car. Campbell now to the inside line, gets the move done. Bolin tries to follow through as well. M. Short has had a disastrous start. He's lost a position from the get-go, and now he tries to size up Verstappen down the inside line. Hell of a race in here. Lap 1 of the spinner, and Chapelelli is round. That goes your prediction, I think, Dan. And Chapelelli has gone round. Coming through out of the first left mode, it looked like he got caught, maybe tangled with Killer Blue possibly, but at the end of lap 1, or towards the end of lap 1, Montana leads, and look at how these guys are really spread out. Toxic now on the back of Suku. This is for third position. They're running side by side now in towards Parabolica, and Toxic to the outside line, Suku on the inside, and of course these guys don't have DRS. It's going to be very difficult in these conditions as well. Bolin trying to size up Campbell, and behind us Toxic tries to find the traction around the outside of the final corner of Parabolica, but at the end of lap 1 it's Montana who leads, Alphatrix in second, Suku third, Toxic in fourth, and these two are still going side by side, running down the straight. Can Toxic possibly get the move done? He's not using up any overtake mode, coming down in towards turn 1, Suku on the outside line, can he get the move done? Coming through the retrofilial chicane, Toxic forces him off track. Great move there by Toxic, gets the move done, and he's up into third position.
Yeah, they're all squatting from position further back behind. Rocco's found himself pretty far up the order at the moment, unless that is a bit of desync, and it is. So I have no clue where anyone is, but all I know is that it has been a brilliant start for Montana. Absolutely the perfect scenario for him. He's got a nice gap behind two Alphatrix, and now as all the guns cross the first sector, should all have fixed itself, and then hopefully we'll get the gaps up soon. But yeah, of course, further back behind, Bolin was having a little bit of a scrap with Campbell. He wasn't able to get the move on the Mercedes drive, but he could be looking very soon to make a move, as now coming down the straight under the old portion of the track. He's not looking close enough to the Mercedes driver. He's actually beginning to catch up to Suku, so yeah, they're all kind of concerning up together, and the two championship leaders are going to begin to run away with this. DRS will be enabled next time by, and what we've just seen.
Toxic ran very wide there coming through Ascari. He's lost a little bit of time to Suku. It's not 6/10 the gap, by the way, between these guys. Bolin is right on the back there with Campbell coming through Parabolica, but Toxic just got wide there through Ascari, and now through Parabolica is under pressure possibly from Suku, but now Bolin on the back of Campbell. This is for 5th position out on track. Alphatrix responds, new fastest lap of the race, and Bolin is going to sail on by, past Campbell he goes. Verstappen follows through as well, so one QVR driver going one way, the other going the other way. Up a position goes Campbell, and down a position, up a position I should say, goes Verstappen. One position down for Campbell out on track. The side by side coming through turn 1, Matthias and Larkin. Chapelelli making up good ground. He's already gone on Daka, and Spine interestingly is the first to come into the pit lane for a set of inters.
Yeah, so he's not feeling very strong on those soft compound tyres that he was on before. It's really going to be a tell if it is ready for the intermediate conditions, but that's about the fact that DRS is enabled, and did the Campbell make a mistake?
No, just ASAS getting the move done through Curva Grande on Daka. That was for 18th position out on track, and Campbell, yeah, has made a mistake, and Verstappen is through, and he's up into 6th position. Really beginning to spread eagle the field, though, in behind, as now M. Short tackles the back of Campbell, running down the straight. Gotta be honest, I think the rain might be getting slightly heavier out on track, which will indicate, of course, intermediates on too far away. But Montana leads, Alphatrix in second, Toxic in third. Toxic always seems to have a very good race around here in Italy, no matter in what season of Division 1 of League of Europe. He always seems to do well around this track. He's currently third and has made a very good start. Let's have a look at position gains. 5 positions gained for Bolin, but 6 positions gained respectively for Kuki and Killer Blue. So they have gained the most positions down on track. Montana responds, fastest lap of the race, 1:30.4 was still quite a way off what would be the fastest lap if it was to be a dry compounded race. Of course, it is a dry compounded race, but the rain really beginning to affect the track. A Spine has got a 3-second time penalty, and judging by the amount of time that he is losing, I think going on to a set of inters is not the finest idea at all.
Well, actually, I think it's the opposite. He was about 18 seconds back at the beginning of this lap, so he's actually made up quite a bit of time. He is catching to these guys, and everyone else soon going to come to the pit lane, and Daka's been held in the pits by his teammate Neo coming into the box. We've got more moves further up ahead. Matthias losing a position to Larkin on those medium tyres, and now looks like Bolin actually found a way past Suka.
Drag race out the pit lane, Spine around the outside, getting the overrun, and it's through, and he's up into 17th position. He's on a set of intermediate compounded tyres. Sorry to cut in there on you there, Dan, I should say. And now Killer Blue is right on the back as he comes, possibly to the outside line, surely not going for a move, in towards the Della Roggia chicane. There is Spine to the inside line. Killer Blue on the outside line, turns into him slightly, squeezes them across the curb, but Killer Blue, if I've got to be honest, had the car ahead. He had the position, he's got the move done.
Yeah, brilliant move from him. There's more moves coming up ahead. Matthias going around the outside of Larkin. Gary, and they're still squabbling. Further up the front, I did mention that, of course, Bolin managed to find a way past Suku. Now he's onto the back of Toxic, so he can be gaining soon, and now Toxic into the pit lane.
Toxic into the pit lane. Bolin is improving. The fastest laps are improving, but I think there's more spray beginning to be kicked up out on track. 1 lap 5 out of 27, and Toxic is into the pits for a set of intermediate compound of tyres. So my prediction, once again, of these guys coming in for a set of inters within the first 10 laps of the race has not been downfounded at all. I'm really making really good predictions here tonight. I haven't predicted the top 3 for a reason, I think. I want to predict everything else out on track. Suku and Verstappen now nearly side by side, coming up towards the Della Roggia chicane out on track. We've got Suku going very deep there, and look at how difficult these compound of tyres now are feeling on the track. And it looks like visibly there's more spray being kicked off those tyres.
Yeah, they are really beginning to struggle.
Oh, 3 wide! 3 wide in the background, Jesus Christ! Just ASOS was trying to make it 3 wide. Larkin has been swallowed up there by Schiaparelli, and just ASOS trying to get the move done. But 3 wide coming through the Della Roggia chicane on the exit. Absolutely unreal. Verstappen's through on Suku as well.
Yeah, and Alphatrix has begun to catch up to Montana. It's going to be crucial to see whether either of these two come into the pit lane. It looks like they just have to come into the box at this moment in time. You can see how tentative they have to be, and Montana having a bit of a scary moment. He almost spins out of Parabolica, and he actually fakes and stays out. I'm really confused by that. I'd expect him to come in.
No, to be honest, that is typical Montana. He likes to fake and dummy essentially the driver behind into the pit lane. It hasn't actually worked because Bolin is staying out. Verstappen and Suku from 4th and 5th are in. So that means Alphatrix is now crawling all over the back of Montana, and it now takes guts, determination and power within the cars to try and get through on lap 6 out of 27. Montana does lead by 0.6 of a second. And theoretically, out on track, Montana would be taking a 9-point advantage over Alphatrix at this stage in the race. Toxic, by the way, one of the first to come in on a set of intermediates, is well ahead of the likes of Verstappen and Suku. So really Inter's coming into play. Matthias is round coming out of the Rettifield chicane.
I didn't see what happened there. He might have just dropped it on his own.
He's really struggling for tyres. I'm not sure if he's got a real right puncture. He's got the car going again, but yeah, everyone's there going to swallow around him. He's got to be very careful here. There's battles going on left, right and centre as Campbell now tries to go around the outside line on Suku. Oh, they make contact slightly. Suku nearly sent spinning. Campbell though towards the inside line. Can he get the move done in towards the first Lesbill? No. D. Daniel crawling over the back of him, and Matthias really struggling on that side of soft. The biggest indicator would be, is the Inters beginning to come into play, and Matthias is losing the time out on track. That one we go on board with is Toxic. That's a dodgy camera angle and a half if I've ever seen one. DRS though is still enabled out on track. Alphatrix though is in to the pit lane from 2nd position on the grid, but we're on board with Campbell right on the back of Suku and being crawled over the back by D. Daniel and M Short as well.
Yeah, further up the order, Alphatrix has enough. He's going to decide to come in earlier than Montana at the very least. Montana might have left it a little bit too late, but he feels confident he might be going until it actually says DRS has been disabled. Well, let's see where Toxic comes out in relation to Alphatrix, and Alphatrix is still well ahead of him. So realistically, the undercut hasn't really worked out. So it seems like it is definitely the crossover point. But the fastest lap has just come out on a set of intermediates, and if that's not saying it is time for the intermediates, then I don't know what will.
To be honest, there's not really much difference in terms of the softs and the mediums, the softs and the inters, I should say, out on track. I think, honestly, we're in this crossover period where it could swing either way. But to me, on that camera angle that I brought on board with wider out, the spray's really beginning to get kicked off, so the intermediates now are going to come into play. The biggest indicator of this now will be Alphatrix, as Suku runs very out wide, and now Campbell towards the inside line. It's not going to go for the move into first Lesmo, but Alphatrix is gaining on Just Asos. That's the biggest indicator. The more time that Montana loses, the more time he will lose to Alphatrix, and that's going to be quite important out on track. And I think Montana, if I'm not mistaken, is going to be coming into the pits this time around. He is. So Montana is into the pit lane from the end of from the lead of the race. 23.3 seconds is the advantage, and I'm pretty sure around here it's a 24-second pit stop.
Oh, it might be very close between the two of them. Alphatrix just coming through the final corner now. Parabolica, of course, the Cookie Games actually going to stay out for another lap, but here he comes now down the start-finish straight, and this should be a nice, comfortable gap.
This is going to be really close.
Just coming out of the pits, actually. I was completely wrong, as there is Montana, there's Alphatrix, and he's come out ahead of him.
And Just Asos are trying to go for the move on Chapelletti. These guys are both on a set of soft compound of tyres. The Inters going quicker now than the softs out on track. But Alphatrix, importantly, in that clear air, in that moment of pit stop where Montana pitted a lap later than Alphatrix, the undercut works to perfection, and Alphatrix is now through into the net lead of the race, with all the guys ahead having to pit inevitably onto a set of intermediate compound of tyres. But the trouble now for Alphatrix is, and for Montana in fact, they're both going to be caught behind traffic slightly. Chapelletti and Just Asos are going to be holding these guys up, and that could mean Toxic and Bolin and the likes could come into play and latch on eventually onto this back if they don't make their moves now.
Yeah, it was about 2.5 seconds separating Montana and Toxic when he came out of the pit lane. Now it's 1.8 seconds, and here comes Alphatrix. So it's going to be 1 of 2 for him now. If he could just brake later, coming into Ascari, he's going to go deep onto the brakes side by side, and actually he's spat out Just Asos in a really good position for him, but Montana's going to have none of it, because there he goes on exit.
Absolutely sails on by. It was like the parting of the Red Sea on the inside of the apex there, and Montana is through, and he's into a net P2. He spat out Just Asos at the right point, but unfortunately there was the undercut strategy for Montana. But Chapelletti is going to hold up Alphatrix down the straight. I don't think know for how long, as a pit window came open on the right hand side. Lap 9 to 12 for set of Inters. Bolin sets a new fastest lap of the race, 1:28.4. But now Alphatrix to the inside line. Chapelletti is fighting this, around the outside line, but Alphatrix is going to sail on by. He's through and he's up into P2, and now Chapelletti, what does he do at this point? Montana is going to have superior traction on the exit coming through the Retafilio chicane once again. We're a third of the way through. Cookie Games still leads, he's still out on track, but now Montana switches it to the inside line. Just Asos as well, fighting with Toxic just there in the background. Montana is through on Chapelletti, lets him through, and Toxic to the inside line on Just Asos. Gets the move done. Very late on the brakes there. Nearly used him as a bit of a braking marker, but gets the move done, and Bolin is through as well on Just Asos. And unfortunately for these soft runners, they're losing time, but I've got to be honest, Cookie Games is not losing much time as expected to Alphatrix.
Yeah, he's actually doing pretty well for himself, is Cookie Games, so he's doing a great job out there on the softs. Of course, it's going to be really difficult for them to still be running at a good condition, especially since then the wets at the moment, it is pretty much intermediate at this point. I don't know why safety car hasn't been, not safety car, the DRS hasn't been disabled at this point. But looking at the delta now, it's 6.5 seconds. You can just see how he's tiptoeing around the circuit when everyone else can be a lot more committed. But he's going to stay out another lap at the beginning of lap number 10. Here comes Montana, though. He's within 0.5 of a second on Alphatrix. This could be the move for the race lead. Of course, Toxic getting past Chapelletti, but we're going to turn our attention to Montana raring down the straight. Look at the overspeed, 340 kilometers per hour. Now coming into the braking zone, he's got the inside line for the Retafilio chicane, and he's got the move on Alphatrix. That is the move for the net race lead. Can Alphatrix come back at him? It doesn't look like it right now. So Montana moving up into P2.
Suku and Campbell having a right dice coming through, and D. Daniel tries to get the both of them. Bolin now through on Chapelelli, but oh my goodness me, the Mercedes nearly gets a little bit of oversteer coming through Curva Grande, and Campbell and Suku are still side by side, but now Suku falls back into place and Campbell maintains the position for now. M. Short on the back of this as well is really lying down on these guys. And Tifosi nearly touched D. Daniel nearly into the back of Suku. How the Tifosi wouldn't want that, but M. Short cuts the inside line, trying to get the move done, and it is move done, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, that might have been a little bit of right side end plate coming off D. Daniel. No, it wasn't. It was something floating in the air. So that is my eyesight needed to be tested once again. But Verstappen on the back of Chapelelli, down the inside line he comes, and the AlphaTauri sails on by. But I think Kuka Games, you know, might be staying out because it looks to me, it might not look visibly, but I think physically out on track, the spray's beginning to let up slightly, and to me, it seems like he might stay out. Oh, I was going to say he might stay out a little bit longer, but he's into the pit lane. I was thinking he might stay out because the rain looks like it's easing off slightly. And I think that might be a case going forward. Here comes Bolin though on the back of Toxic. This is for net P3 out on track. Pit window once again is open, but they will ignore that to their heart's content, and Bolin is through and easily passes and disposes of Toxic down in towards turn 1. But again, the AlphaTauris, 4th and 5th. I think they've only swapped positions out on track, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they have. And the AlphaTauris showing very good pace here out on track, trying to emulate Pierre Gasly from this year.
They could be trying it. They could be in position as well if safety car comes out. But I think it's a little theory. It might not be put fully to the test. But I think I might have a reason why Cookie Games, Just Asas and Chapelelli stayed out as long as they did. And there's the virtual safety car for Matthias.
Matthias, oh, and Rocco's dived it down the inside on Spine. Loses the position. Cohen might have to give up that position as well, but VSC deployed out on track. Rocco was just about going for the move. He locked up coming through. I think he tried to brake because Cohen slowed down in front of him, went to the inside line, had nowhere to go, got caught up on the curb, ran into the back of Spine. Luckily, no front wing damage, I think, but a 3-second time penalty for Rocco underneath the VSC. So Matthias's car is round through Ascari. That should be recovered very soon indeed, and indeed it has, as DRS is now re-enabled out on track, and Montana leads by 1.4 seconds, and has got a tremendous VSC restart actually out on track, as I think further down the field, Cohen has let Rocco through.
Yeah, Rocco had a really good restart, but as I was saying before, Neo's actually just getting past Cohen as well, so he's beginning to slip through the order. But everyone else who's pitted earlier on might not be able to get to the end. I think Cohen and Chapelelli and Just Asas could probably try and extend these intermediate tyres right to the end of the Grand Prix. So that's just a little bit of a theory, but here's 7th position on track right now. M. Short got a great run on Suku. He has to dive it if he wants to make the move. He's going to be later on the brakes, coming into the braking zone, into the Rettifilo chicane. They're going to be side by side through turn number 1 and turn number 2 on exit. Who has got the better run? It looks like Suku just stays ahead. So it was great defensive driving, and it seems like M. Short's in a bit of a Ferrari sandwich at the moment, and that's not a place he wants to be.
He is, and he might try and get out of this Ferrari sandwich down the inside and towards the Della Rogers chicane, but no. He hangs on, and he's still in 8th position. So Suku got 7th. M. Short now down to 8th. A little bit of a shoddy run there from M. Short, as now D. Daniel is on the back of these guys. There's not really much in terms of action happening further down the field, which I'm sorry to report. But Montana does lead from Alphatrix in 2nd. The beauty of this race is everyone is pretty much on a set of intermediate compounded tyres. Dakar, however, has came out and risked it for a set of soft compounded tyres. He feels that the Delta period might be beginning to switch again in terms of the soft compounded tyres. It'll be very interesting to see if he gains on the back of Chapelelli. 26.9 seconds the gap. Watch this gap very closely to the left-hand side of the screen as we'll cut on board with the leader, Montana, who leads as we approach the halfway stage here in Italy. Larkin, however, is through on Kuki Games, but I think we made a mistake there.
Yeah, now we're moving into 15th position. Larkin making up another place in this race, but physically on circuit, the rain looks like it's letting up, and the clouds are looking to get a little bit lighter, so I think by the end of the race we could maybe have some dry running, maybe not too much, but Dakar, a bit of a risk to go onto the soft tyres there, but if it does end up working out, fair play to him. It won't make him too many positions, but it will definitely help get ahead of some of the guys ahead of him.
He is catching Chapelelli, actually. It's 26 seconds. He's gained a second on this lap. From him coming out the pit lane, there was 27 seconds. Oh! As Suku dives it down the inside of Campbell, unexpectedly tries to get the move done, doesn't, and now has got M Short crawling all over the back of him, and down the inside line goes M Short, trying to use the car down to the inside line. Suku, he nearly ended up spinning, and now comes through the other Tifosi of D Daniel. So D Daniel is through, and Suku, from that tried to dive bomb down the inside of Campbell, has made him lose 2 positions. They might lose him only 1 actually, because he's now side by side. The Ferraris better not touch in front of the Tifosi, as Suku and D Daniel now diving down the inside, and Suku is back through, and he's up into 8th position. Smart driving that, I think, from Suku. Turned the negative into a positive, and he's through. But D Daniel is all over the back. I wonder who is Leclerc and Vettel at this point.
Well, I'd hope they're neither of them at the Brazilian Grand Prix where they actually made contact down the straight. But now coming out the Parabolica, it looks like Daniel's just going to take a little bit of a backseat here, try and see what happens between the drivers up ahead, and maybe if he can pound like he did through Lesmo 1 after Suku ran out wide. It's like they're actually going to split up a little bit, which is a nice Killer Blue spine. Rocco, everyone seems to be coming.
They're coming in for the softs.
Tyres are they going to come in for?
They're coming in for the softs, I think.
First one has to be another set of intermediates. It's not soft running yet.
Oh, there is a set of soft actually out for one of the drivers. I think it's Rocco. They might have gone on to a set of soft compound of tyres. What does the commentator know? I think he's stuck there in the pit, and it is Rocco who does go on to a set of soft compound of tyres. He's got a front wing change, I think, going on there as well. So he's obviously had contact possibly with the wall or something out on track, and now Rocco will get back underway. Rain, though, if I've got to be honest, is getting heavier, I think, out on track, and it looks as if that strategy for the set of soft runners certainly is not really going to pay off. I think we're in this crossover period again.
Honestly, both of us seem to be a bit clueless at this moment in time. I'm sure there's a really experienced league racer who knows everything about this game that's just watching, and they've got their hand in their face. Look at these 2 blithering idiots just trying to work out what's happening. We're trying our best, Mr. Smartman, but it is a time of really unsureties in this.
We do have a smart man who is out of this race. Matthias in the comment section saying the softs are faster than the inters. They were already faster. He set a purple sector before his crash. Toxic is in for, well, presumably this is going to be for another set of intermediates, and it is. Another set of inters is out in the Toro Rosso, in the AlphaTauri garage, not the Toro Rosso garage as they're now known as Matthias has now left the session, and Bolin, I think, has got the move done. No, there's a bit of a glitch. I think Verstappen has gone ahead of Toxic there. I think that's what it is with that. But Toxic is out and relatively clean now. It's going to be quite close between him and Ciappellelli. Ciappellelli trying to run now in the slipstream, trying to get him very late on the brakes. Toxic out of the pit, and he's in front of him. Ciappellelli tries he might with the overspeed, but Toxic is ahead of him out on track. But I've got to be honest, Ciappellelli is not doing too bad out on track. He's beginning to get into contention, I think. When these guys come into the pit lane, if Ciappellelli can make those tyres last out to the end of the race, he might be on for a really cracking result here.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying with the strategy of him and Cookie Games staying out so long on the set of softs. They don't have to make a second stop on the intermediate, so they just keep the track position, make one less stop than the guys up in front. He's going to have older tyres than all of the drivers around him, but I don't think that'll affect him too much. I do believe that Toxic was one of the drivers to come in a bit earlier, so I think some other drivers can go a little bit longer on this set of tyres. Just takes us into the mediums, which is interesting to say the very least, and Bolin's going to come into the box, so is Verstappen. What about Campbell? As yeah, it definitely looks like everyone is going to come at this point, so 8 laps seems to be the point of sort of coming into the pit lane for a lot of these guys, and if that's anything to go off of, Alpha will be in this lap, Montana will be in next lap.
Yeah, but Campbell and D Daniel, interestingly, are going 10 laps now 11 laps actually, on a set of intermediate compound of tyres. So that means they're going to be going longer into the race. Are they predicting, I wonder, a change in the weather? But this is what we've been talking about, I think, pretty much for the whole of the night. Cohen, interestingly, is another one that has risked it. He is going on a set of soft compound of tyres, while everyone around him is on a set of intermediate to Spine and Killer Blue now close in on each other. Spine trying to get the move done down in towards turn 1, very late on the brake, too late on the brakes. He could let now the door open for Neo, and Neo was just going to sail on by, possibly down on the inside on. They're going to be side by side. Neo is just barely ahead. In fact, he's got the full car ahead now, as Spine will try and and fight back desperately. He's using up the overtake mode, but he lets the position go, and Neo is through, and he's up into 13th position, currently on the fringe of the points. But I think when everyone pits in front of these guys, they're going to be running around 6th, 7th, 8th, I think.
Yeah, I definitely think that's where they'll turn out as well. But it's just interesting to see. Will Alphatrix come to the pits here? Looks like him and Montana both staying out for at least one lap at the very minimum number of runs left to go on these intermediates. They're definitely going to be at their breaking point, but they're not going to be at the best. The tread will have worn out pretty much at this point, as now Campbell's going to pull into the pit lane. What about D. Daniel? Been on these tires for 10 laps now, going to definitely come into the box here. And yeah, going to be another set of the intermediates, and that'll bring Cookie Games into a podium position at this point in the race. This has been a brilliant strategy from Cookie Games. 24 seconds is the gap between Alphatrix, so he's actually probably going to come up behind him, but Bolin is right on his tail. Fresher tyres, he could definitely be in prime position to pounce on him.
Oh, you hear the tyres squeal for life as they come out of the Retafilio chicane now through Curva Grande, and Bolin is lining up Cookie Games. I think you're defining yourself possibly with your own strategy with these guys, as the yellow flag in sector 1 and Schiaparelli is round through Curva Grande, I think. He's tried to fight the car, I think, out of the Retafilio chicane. He's tried to fight the car, and unfortunately he's got, I think, left side end plate damage on that car, if I'm not mistaken. He has. He's got the end plate completely torn off that car, which suggests to me he's trying to counteract, he's trying to oversteer, he's trying to counteract the steering, and he's gone into the left-hand side wall on the exit of the Retafilio chicane halfway through Curva Grande. Cookie Games has, however, been overtaken by Bolin, down into the inside of Ascari. Front two are in, and Bolin now possibly could lead this race out on track, but I think he's going to come up a little bit short. Cookie Games now right on the back, and he's trying to fight desperately. This is for third position, currently out on track, as Alphatrix comes into the pit box ahead. Montana is also into the pit lane as well, both on a set of intermediate compounded tyres. This is going to be quite close, you know, between these guys. Montana coming out the pit lane now, Alphatrix coming out the pit lane. Bolin and Alphatrix are certainly going to be quite close coming down towards turn 1. But Bolin is going to fall into line. He's way off in the end. He's in third position. Not really much going on. 2/3 of the way through here on my 49th commentary here in Division 1 as Killer Blue comes into the pit lane. Montana leads, Alphatrix second, Bolin in third. But still, changeable conditions out on track and a possible change of position. Campbell down the inside of Suku doesn't get the move done.
Meanwhile, further back just behind this freight at the moment, Daniel lost position too near a little bit earlier on in the Grand Prix. We didn't quite see, maybe in the pit space, but Daniel right onto the back of him. Still can't find a way through at the moment, as really it is difficult to overtake in the wet conditions, and that's why I was kind of hoping it'd be a dry race, but we just have to do what we can at the moment, because it seems like the soft runners haven't really made up too much time against the intermediate drivers. I don't think it was the right strategy to go for in the end for some of these drivers, but DRS is still enabled at the moment. I'm a bit worried about.
I'll correct you there. Cohen is catching on spine, and he's just getting 5/10 of a second in a couple of corners.
Oh.
He is, and D. Daniel right on the back of Neo as well, coming down in towards the scar. He doesn't get the move done, but Cohen is closing in. So it seems to me anybody that has gambled for a set of intermediate might be proven wrong, because Cohen is catching on a set of softs, and I wouldn't be surprised actually if Cohen sets the new fastest lap of the race this time around. D. Daniel, however, is through on Neo. Cookie Games into the pit lane, so clearly going for a change up in strategy. There's a yellow flag in sector 3, and I think it's Rocco who is round through Ascari, and it is Rocco around sadly through Ascari. Disastrous race from his point of view, been running very consistently in recent weeks. Interestingly, Cookie Games is in, Spine is in, and I think they realise softs are now quicker than inters.
Collins come out in 12th position, that's ahead of Cookie Games at this point. So, when will the other drivers come in for these softs? Rain still looks pretty prominent at the moment. It's just, I have no clue what's happening, but visually on track, there's not much spray being kicked up by the intermediate runners. What about the soft runners, as Rocco's now retired in the pit lane? That makes 2 retirements in this Grand Prix. Really unfortunate for Rocco out this Grand Prix on lap number 19, coming up towards the end of the race very soon, as Montana has pulled away from Alphatrix, but Bolin's actually closed in on the one of the championship leaders at the moment. So it could be interesting, and Bolin could definitely throw some spice into the mix.
You can see the faint name tag of one of the championship contenders, Alphatrix. He is second in the championship, coming into tonight 2 points behind Montana. Theoretically, as it stands, Montana is outperforming and outscoring Alphatrix out on track. So that means he's going to be 9 points clear, I should say, coming down through turn 1 now. Montana is currently 9 points ahead of Alphatrix in terms of the championship standings. Schiaparelli is into the pit lane. I hope to God none of these guys are actually listening in to us in terms of the strategy, because these guys are really risking it late on. Schiaparelli, another one running in a promising position, comes in now for a set of soft compound of tyres, but not sure where this race is going to go, to be honest. I think we may get these guys now in a set of Inters who have pitted recently continuing on to the end. Everyone else, though, on a set of soft compound of tyres will have to continue on as well. Cohen trying to catch on Neil. Gap has stabilised to Neil.
Yeah, well, if it does shift over to fully dry conditions, it's really going to put the advantage into Cohen's hands. He's only 25 seconds back from Montana at this moment in time, which sounds like quite a lot, but once he comes into the game, he won't be too far back, and if it just gets drier and drier, then theoretically Cohen will get faster and faster in comparison to his rival, and he does seem to be closing in on Montana ahead, which definitely is going to be seeming to be true at this moment in time. Everyone seems to have spaced out a little bit on circuit at the moment, which is not what you want to see, but maybe that's what the stewards have done. They've left the DRS open just for some unknown reason. Setting the fastest lap on the intermediate tyres, but that really does silence any theory that we might have had about the soft being quicker.
Verstappen into the pit lane from 5th, and he's actually one of the ones that pitted more recently out on track. I think that's his 4th lap on a set of Inters. M. Short is also in as well. So these guys, I think, are trying to predict the end of the race, and these guys are now both going to go onto a set of softs. Dakar into the pit lane as well. Sorry, Neo into the pit lane as well. That was Dakar's pit crew coming out of their pit garage there. That's why I got a little bit confused. Daniel's trying to catch on the back of Campbell. Bolin trying to catch onto the back of Alphatrix. But look at the gaps. Stagnant at a second for the lead now. Montana, Alphatrix, Bolin, pretty much a second separating these three guys now, and 2 seconds overall separating the top 3 out on track. Neil, by the way, is into the pit lane along with Killer Blue. Killer Blue, recently out the pit lane, is ahead of him out on track. So all of these guys trying to come in on a set of soft compound of tyres. Cohen, though, 26.1 seconds is the gap. Let's watch that leader interval time and see if it comes down in favour of Cohen. If it doesn't, I think the gap has actually gone out. So maybe Inters are now the quicker tyre. Goodness knows what's happening in terms of the tyres.
Honestly, no clue whatsoever, but yeah, Cohen is seeming to lose a little bit. And now fastest lap beginning to come out from Alphatrix and Montana, both of them setting purple laps back to back. So yeah, might have been the wrong call, but Toxic still into the pits quite late here.
There goes Neo passing Killer Blue as well. Beautifully done. Simple as you like. Neo was through in his own Killer Blue for 15th.
Yeah, and soft tyres going on for Toxic at the moment. We'll see where he comes out in relation to his fellow drivers as well. He's going to come up behind Cookie Games, behind
Larkin,
I think, as well. And maybe Larkin will come out ahead of him. He's got the speed, and he moved ahead. What about Verstappen? Oh, it's going to be close between these two. He's now coming into the braking zone. Verstappen's going to hang back just a little bit. Won't try and make the move on his teammate.
Dakar 5-second penalty for speeding into the pit lane as well. Dakar, unfortunately, has picked up that penalty out on track. D. Daniel still all over the back of Campbell. And actually, Cohen is losing time to D. Daniel. 5.4 seconds the gap. Inters now look like the quicker tyre. This is how difficult it is to predict in terms of where... We're not weather forecasters, by the way. We haven't predicted the weather coming into this. And it looks to me as if we're just getting that changeable delta time between the Inters and between the softs. All of these guys now, I think, the top 6 have to stay out now on a set of Inters, because they are now proven, I think, to be quicker than the guys on a set of soft compound tyres. And all of those guys that pitted on a set of softs, and Bolin is into the pit lane, interestingly. So Bolin is into the pit lane, interestingly, as well. But it looks to me as if the softs are now going off and the Inters are quicker again.
Yeah,
and Bolin's in for a fresh set.
fresh set of intermediate tyres going on for Bolin there. I wouldn't expect him to pit. He's only done 6 laps on the tyres that he was on, so he...
Oh, here comes D. Daniel! Oh, Campbell! Oh, moving right across and D. Daniel's line there, but Campbell has got... D. Daniel has got the move done on Campbell, and he's through and he's up into 4th and 5th position. I think Campbell tried to defend, but not good enough. Now Toxic to the inside line, down the inside on Larkin. This is a P9. Out on track, Toxic was one stage run at P3, trying to get the superior traction off the corner, and look at that. The set of softs coming into play eventually for Toxic, and he's through and he's up into 9th position. Now got Verstappen all the way over the back of him, and the AlphaTauris are now catching Larkin. A bit of a sandwich. Is Verstappen going to try and go for the move down into the rest of the chicane? No, he backs off. Kooky Games as well on the back of Cohen, basically pushing him into the first Lesmo, and it's still 7/10 the gap for the lead of the race.
Yeah, AlphaTrix really is beginning to close in on Montana, and that DRS is still enabled, even on lap 23 of the race, despite it being wet for the entirety of it. He's doing really well to keep within that 1 second window that he needs to make a move if he possibly can. And there's Cookie Games getting past Cohen with DRS into Ascari, but now down the start-finish straight, you can see the overspeed that AlphaTrix has. 4 tenths now is the gap between the leaders, and these two have been fluctuating in terms of each other throughout the entire of this race. So it's going to be interesting to see a last lap scrap between the pair of them.
AlphaTrix has got 2% more ERS than Montana out on track. That is the latest in terms of the ERS deployment. So AlphaTrix has just conserved that a little bit more. It could be the difference, actually, between him going into the 50% power range, which is less than 10% of ERS out on track, and him not going into that ERS range. So it's going to be quite fascinating, as M. Schultz is now through and Chapelelli down on the mini-map. I think he's through and he's up into P12. And Larkin has got overtaken by Verstappen, but one ball with the battle for the lead. AlphaTrix trying to close in on Montana. He's opened up the DRS, he's getting closer, but he's not going to get the move done from that far back, as Montana now is in the lead of the race still. AlphaTrix in second, Suku in third. The top 3 have basically remained as they are throughout this race. Toxic at one stage was running in third. He's trying to catch actually Cohen, who's on relatively old tyres, but now 3 laps to go. Who wants to see a battle between the championship leader and the championship second? I hope to God we are going to, but as soon as I say that, AlphaTrix has a bit of a half spin, and that gives Montana a distinct advantage running down the straight.
Yeah, you can see how Montana's going defensive to the inside line up towards turn number 1, but all the rest is going to allow for AlphaTrix to get closer to him. If he gets a better exit, you know, he could try and make a move through Turbo Grande. He's going to go tighter on turn number 2, and that might have helped him, you know. He's actually closing in on Montana. 3 tenths now is the gap. I don't think he's going to be close enough to make a move into the chicane, but he is so close. Ascari could be his moment of opportunity now. 2 tenths separating the leaders. You cannot write this, can you?
You cannot write this, and with 2.5 laps to go, this is going to be the most fascinating ending, I think, to the season. We've got the 2 championship leaders potentially battling out here once again for the win, and it's between these 2, and I think theoretically everyone else in the championship is now out of it. It's like Montana back in Season 2. Theoretically, he won the championship with about 4 races to go. This, though, is a championship battle to savour, with 6 more rounds to go after this one. AlphaTrix right on the back of Montana. Looks to me as if the sun is trying to break out through the clouds there as well. Montana slightly slower, and now AlphaTrix begins to close in once again. Just use up a little bit of overtake mode. Now, in that dirty air, running up in towards Parabolica. I'm sorry to say to everyone else, I don't think we're going to be riding on board with you for the rest of the race, as now the inters really take effect. AlphaTrix slightly slower than Montana at the final corner, but now he's going to have a go down onto the final 2 laps of the race, and here comes AlphaTrix for the lead of the race, and breezes on by Montana. Montana will have no response, but I would imagine that Montana will try and get that yo-yo effect back on him on the final lap of the race. So it really depends on how this last lap goes. This penultimate lap of the race goes for Montana, but AlphaTrix leads by 0.4 of a second.
Yeah, well, the mantra is grow or fade, and I think that AlphaTrix is living by that at the moment. Meanwhile, further back behind, Bolin finds a way past Campbell.
Wow, actually,
on aged tyres.
Sorry to break in. Toxic has gained on Cohen. It was 5 seconds the gap. and Toxic has just sailed on by Cohen for 8th position out on track. Toxic really coming into this race with fresher tyres. He's on the back of Kuki Games and inevitably could be the fastest soft runner out there out on track. So well done to Toxic for really recovering out on track. Montana having to come back now at Alphatrix, running down in towards Ascari. He's not going to get the move done, and he's 4/10 off as we come down in towards Ascari. But final lap and a half, it's too close to call.
Well, it's a true Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton, 2016 championship fight. I just cannot call who is going to win it all, and I think Toxic, as you say it, has lost a car. He got damage as well.
Oh, he's got right side end plate damage as well. I was saying he was doing so well as well, and then look what happens. A James Head curse there on the penultimate lap of the race for Toxic. Sadly, it's not the first time I've done that to him either. Montana then is going to come back at Alphatrix. Final lap, here we go. Between the championship leader, he pulls to the inside line, dummies it onto the grass. Goodness me, that was close. But Montana, can he get the car stopped? Yes, he can. How on earth he pulled off that move? It might be looked towards the stewards, to be honest, because that looked to me as it was done off track and Alphatrix loses the car, and that is game over for Alphatrix. Montana is going to take the win out on track. Toxic again has spun, coming through Ascari. We've got a yellow flag in sector 2, which I think is Dakar as well. Bolin is through on D. Daniel running down the straight for 4th. He could still be with the chance of a podium if he gets past Suku on the final lap, but Montana leads out on track. Alphatrix in second, and Verstappen all over the back, crawling all over the back of Cohen. The two QVR now, guys. Got the two QVR guys now going at it, I should say. Now, the AlphaTauri tries to go around the outside. Cohen side by side with him, and he's got the move done. Verstappen through, and he's up into 8th position. Toxic sadly into the pit lane. He can't attempt the fastest lap attempt either, but Verstappen through, and he's up into 8th position. And Montana is going to be coming towards a 7th. A 6th race win actually out on track for Montana, so they're going to be level in terms of count back on track. And Montana now round the final corner in very dramatic circumstances. It still could be lost in the steward's room. He looked like he got the overtake done off the track, but Montana is through final corner and he wins in Italy. He's happy with that one. Alphatrix across the line in second, 3 seconds off in the end. But look at Bolin. Bolin crawling all over the back of Suku. He's got one more chance to have a go. Down in towards Parabolico. He's not close enough. Suku needs to run out wide here, and Bolin takes the thinner line possible. Can he get him? It could be a photo finish between these two. Ferrari and the Haas now races to the line. Suku finishes 3rd from Bolin, and 4th. D. Daniel finishes in 5th. Campbell in 6th. Kuki Games around the final corner, best of the soft runners in the end, finishing in 7th. Verstappen in 8th, Cohen in 9th, Larkin in 10th. We see position gain now, I think, for Verstappen up to 7th, Larkin down to 11th, Ciappellelli 12th, Neo in 13th, running around the final corner. We haven't got many drivers to come across the line at all. But Montana wins, but I have a feeling that might not be the last we've seen of Montana and Alphatrix possibly going to the steward's room with that overtake.
That is, of course, going to be up to Alphatrix to actually report that, but what lost him the lead altogether, what was really the final nail in the coffin, was his own mistake out of turn number 2, so he has himself to blame for that one, but of course, for now, Montana can just be pleased with himself. He had to go on the grass, as Alex Albon would say about his move on someone. I don't actually remember. I'm getting off topic here. It must have been now.
Austria?
We're going off topic.
Kuki Games gets the driver of the day though in the meantime. And yeah, we're going completely off topic there. But Kuki Games does pick up the driver of the day for a sensational race. To be honest, he might pick up my driver of the day as well. But in the end, 6 apiece now in terms of Alphatrix and Montana, and it's Montana who takes the win out on track, with Alphatrix finishing in 2nd and Suku barely holding on with Bolin right on the back of him coming around the final corner. But Suku picks up yet another 3rd position, and if I'm not mistaken, it's going to put him now, I think, within the top 5 of the standings.
Yes, really picked it up in this championship, and now he is the Division 1.5 race winner for Italy. That is definitely going to put him in a really good position. I do believe that is D. Daniel still leading that championship.
It is D. Daniel, I think, still leading that championship. Formula 1.5, I think they call it there, but Formula 1 Division 1 here, of course, in League of Europe, goes the way of Montana in Italy at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. Alphatrix finishing in second, Suku in third. The top three remain as they are in the end, with Bolin in fourth, Daniel in fifth, Campbell in sixth, Verstappen seventh, Kuka Games in eighth, Cohen in ninth, with M Short rounding off the top 10, Larkin in 11th, Chapelelli in 12th. Those are the position finishers, and those are the point scorers out on track. Neo in 13th, with Killer Blue in 14th, Spine in 15th. Disastrous race from his perspective from 9th on the grid. Toxic as well. If it wasn't for that late mistake, he would have finished in the top 10. Toxic finishing 16th. Dakar, in fact, took the fastest lap of the race, 1:27.5. He gets 17th and the fastest lap point. Just Asas, Rocco and Matthias, I think, DNFing out on track, unfortunately. And that is the end of Division 1 here tonight in Italy. And next week we go to Singapore, which is going to be a very special occasion for me because it's my 50th Division 1 commentary within League of Europe. Thank you to Ivor Bryn Mike for finding out that statistic, by the way, that I've been running with throughout this stream. And Dan, it is, I believe, your 10th, if I'm not... not your 10th, your 7th or 8th, I think, within League of Europe Division 1, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, well, I've got a long way to go. Hopefully we can remain in the Division 1 commentary box for a number of seasons to come, and maybe somewhere down the line I could be celebrating my 50th race in Division 1, but of course that would be quite a while. But it's great to see you, that you've been here for so long and you've been committed to League of Europe, of course.
It's now me becoming part of the furniture. I think that's now what it is. But that is it for tonight. Of course, Singapore up next week. It's going to be a whole different contest, I think, in terms of how close the barriers are. I'm likely to see quite a few DNFers, I think, out on track. But let me promote to you something that is happening right at the end of the season. Sign-ups are now out for the 24 hours of Formula 1. Yes, we're making a third comeback of the 24 hours of F1. The sign-ups are now up. If you're in the Discord, the 24 hours of F1 Discord, the 24 hours of League Racing, I think it's now called, you can sign up within that. You've got to have a team of 8, and it is not a first come, first serve, so you've got to really reserve your spot. So get in there quick if you want to be part of that. You can also follow the 24 Hours of F1 account on Twitter at 24F12019. That is when they originated, of course, from the first one. They can't change the Twitter name, I think, with that, unfortunately. But you can also follow at League of Europe on Twitter, of course, the home of all the league racing here on the Saturday night, and at B52 Head and at V8 Field on Twitter as well. And I'm sure we'll be getting a lot of follows now that we've said that and promoted ourselves twice within the stream as well.
Well, if we don't get any more followers, we will hunt everyone who has been watching the stream down, so make sure you do this.
We will not hunt you down. He might, I won't. But that is the end here tonight for us in League of Europe. Division 2 and Division 5 are also going to be covered. Dakar and Verstappen taking you through Division 2. And then in Division 5, I think it's Ivor Bryn Mike and Eloise Mark who is going to be taking you through that one as well. So it's going to be fascinating to see how those guys get on, both in Division 2 and Division 5. But that is the end for tonight. Please stay safe. The UK restrictions are still ramping up, as they are indeed across the whole of Europe. Stay safe, protect your family, wear a face covering, take some hand sanitizer, and get used to living with COVID, possibly for the rest of your life as well. But thank you so much for watching. I've been James Head. He's been Daniel Field. We will see you next week in Singapore. Goodbye.